Hello, welcome to Kevlar's Quest, the Modern Life podcast. I'm Kevin Ejezi. Today's quest is Midlife Crisis, Finding Yourself Before It's Too Late. Midlife Crisis, Finding Yourself Before It's Too Late. So let's talk about something we've all heard of, and that is the midlife crisis. You know the stereotype. A guy in his 40s suddenly leaves his family, buys a flashy car, starts dating someone half his age, and seems to throw responsibility out of the window. It looks reckless, but underneath, there's a deeper story. Not every man goes through this, of course, but when it does happen, it usually comes down to two big reasons. The first reason is about men who have spent their whole lives doing what are expected of them. They made their parents proud, worked hard at school, became reliable employees, and then devoted themselves to their families. They measured their worth by other people's standards, and while they were rewarded with respect or stability, they often lost touch with their own desires. Then, somewhere around 40, reality hits. Maybe a parent passes away, maybe they face their first health scare. Suddenly, death isn't an abstract idea anymore, it feels real. And with that realization comes another. And that realization is that I've spent my whole life living for others. What about me? That's the question they start asking themselves. That question, what about me, isn't selfish in a bad way. It's actually healthy. It's a spark that reminds us life isn't just about duty. It's about living fully. But here's the catch. If a man hasn't asked that question since he was a teenager, he's out of practice. So when he finally does, his version of selfishness looks immature, like chasing teenage fantasies of fast cars and wild adventures. The second reason, the second reason midlife crisis happen is about delayed gratification. Many men are experts at pulling off pleasure for the sake of future goals. That's how they build careers, families, and stability. But when mortality sets in, they realize if I keep delaying forever, I'm not delaying, I'm forfeiting. And suddenly, they want their slice of the pie. The problem is, if you haven't practiced enjoying life along the way, you binge when you finally get a chance. It's like a starving man at a buffet. He doesn't pace himself, he eats until he's sick. That's why some midlife crises spiral out of control. But here's the hopeful part. If men learn to ask, what about me, earlier, and if they practice balancing responsibility with healthy self-gratification, they don't need to explode later. They don't need to explode and start saying, okay, now is the time for me to do it. They can live with purpose and joy without burning everything down. So maybe the lesson isn't that midlife crises are inevitable. The lesson is that we should all, whether men or women, make space for ourselves along the way. Because if you don't, life has a way of reminding you, sometimes painfully, that it's yours to live. Okay, that's our quest for today. Please subscribe, like, and share. Someone out there needs to hear this message. Maybe someone like you. Let's spread strength and clarity to those navigating this journey. We'll talk more in future episodes. Let me know your thoughts. Thanks for listening and take care.